Congratulations, you can count. And they say the school system's failing.
I would say I've had an interest in voice from a sort of mimicry standpoint. I don't mean derisive. I just mean sounding like. I've always been interested from the time I was very young. I would see people and then try to engage them in conversation to see if they sounded the way I would have thought visually that they might sound. And of course, that has more exceptions than rules. You never know. That was always sort of an interest for me, a powerful interest. I was an English major in college, and a friend who was in the theater department told me they were going outside of the department to cast. It was actually a British drawing room sort of black comedy farce. And he knew that I used a lot of voices just when I would tell stories or whenever I could. And he encouraged me to audition for this Joe Orton play. The head of the theater department came to me on opening night, and he said, "What are you doing in the English department?" I said, "Honestly, I'm not terribly sure." However, he said, "Don't give up that interest." But he said, "You're the kind of performer that we look for, and I encourage you to cultivate this side of yourself as well." So I wasn't a show kid. I didn't grow up backstage. I didn't have any of that kid stuff. I just was a kid when I was a kid. I was a teenager when I was a teenager. I like to think that allows me to bring that kind of very solid Midwestern upbringing to characters that move way to the left, right, center, and above and below that sort of, I won't say normal, but typical childhood and teen years. And I'm able to use it. Consequently, it wasn't until I was in college that it all became fresh to me as a passionate pursuit. I ended up with a degree in theater and English, a double major. I did summer stock. I did repertory. I went to a theater conservatory. I was part of an improvisational group. I brought all of that with me into my Los Angeles experience after I had Agent in the Midwest. I'm trying to summarize, but by the time I got to Los Angeles, I did it by way of a show, a play that I was touring with that ended in San Diego. I left the company in San Diego and began my journey.
Okay.
I was cast in a show in Los Angeles. I'm leading up to sort of the moment of opportunity where a Carol Churchill play called Cloud 9, which I did in Los Angeles. I was seen on two different performances by two very prominent animation directors, one of whom was Wally Burr, the other was Gordon Hunt. I had already been able to meet Wally and was working on a show called The Littles for him. But he said, "If you're as versatile as this, I'm going to be working on Transformers, G.I. Joe, a lot of series things coming up, and I will keep you in mind much differently than I would have previously." Gordon Hunt said, "If you're as versatile as what we saw on stage, we should know about you at Hanna-Barbera." With Gordon Hunt, I did the inconvenient thing, and instead of just saying thank you, which I'm sure he would have forgotten by the time he got to his car, I said, "Well, you've had my demo for months now. If you could move it from the bottom of the pile to the top and give it a listen, I would love to be doing what you're doing over there." He laughed. He said, "You've got a lot of nerve, don't you?" And I said, "Well, normally not. I can be so polite that I talk myself out of things that I want to be talked into." And he said, "Well, I will keep you in mind." He had me in, I believe it was a week, maybe 2 weeks after that. He introduced me as what he considered to be one of the new kids, and he gave me some peripheral roles and then kept me in mind for series roles. The first series that I did at Hanna-Barbera was called Fantastic Max, and I played A.B. Sitter, his plastic parent, who has to accompany him on adventures in space.
It's somewhat C-3PO almost there with the
there
voice.
you go.
Yeah.
actually, even the rendering was sort of similar in appearance to that, very precise. At any rate, the takeaway for me as a teacher now is that sometimes you have to represent yourself. You can't mistake that moment of opportunity for anything other than what it is. And you don't want to let it go by, or it becomes just another moment. It became an opportunity because I seized it as the opportunity that it was.
Okay, cool. And then obviously went on and continued. I mean, a lot of people know you. I know besides your roles in Spider-Man, which is what we all know you for and the listeners do, but I'm sure they all know you as Grimlock in Transformers. That's one of your biggest roles ever. Odie in Garfield, I mean, that is a huge role, and I know you've recently done something with Odie as well. Aren't you still doing Odie stuff?
First of all, me Dinobot leader. Yeah. So lest there be any confusion over that. And we did endless episodes of Garfield and Friends, which included the U.S. Acres, which I think is called Orson's Farm in the U.K. But we've been doing a newer incarnation called The Garfield Show. I'm still barking and slurping Odie. And I'm Squeak the Mouse, who's the only mouse that Garfield won't kick out of the house, you know. And Harry the Alley Cat, who lives down the street because food tastes better out of the bottom of a garbage can after it percolates for a couple of days. And a mailman named Herman Post, who hates going to the Arbuckle house because, well, you know, that cat.
Well, for the next 20 minutes, you're just going to have to do all your voices. I'm just going to let you keep on going. You can have a conversation with yourself, and I'll enjoy the hell out of it more than listening to my own voice.
Thank you.
I mean, I also love. I mean, when I was growing up, of course, Nickelodeon was another big thing, and I used to watch Our Real Monsters all the time, man. And your Grumble, I loved the Grumble because the Grumble, as a kid, used to terrify the hell out of me because I didn't know what the creature was, and here's this weird-looking animal that's blended with, I don't know, red high heels and lipstick, but just had this very soothing voice, and then all of a sudden could turn on you. It's almost like a loving parent where suddenly you've done something wrong, and their voice goes from nice and calm to extremely threatening and angry. I love your Grumble so much.
Ickis, Crumb, Oblina. You're late for class. Sit down, open your monster books. Like that.
I mean, exactly like that. Absolutely. And of course, you've been Eeyore quite a lot for Winnie the Pooh, haven't you?
Well, I'm one of them. There's 3 of us doing it right now. I've been allowed to lose my tail in the 100-acre wood, along with Peter Cullen and a Pixar artist named Bud Lucky. So different of us are on different projects. All I was looking for were some thistles, and the next thing you know, my tail fell off again.
Oh, my God.
Oh, hum. Oh, bother.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for noticing me.
Oh, man. An interview with Eeyore would be a real hard thing to listen to. I would feel so sad after.
Well, one of them.
And I wanted to ask you, too, because it's amazing, like I said at the intro, you're bound to be a part of everyone's childhood in some form or fashion with the characters you played. And I also was a big fan of Men in Black, and I watched that animated series as well. And when I saw that you were Agent K, I couldn't believe that because that was another huge show that I used to watch all the time that you were a part of. What I wanted to ask you was, were you directed to do a sort of Tommy Lee Jones impression in your own style, or was it just go for it how you want to go for it with what you got?
Well, it was left open for interpretation, but I said, shoot him, Jay. He's a cerebrofecaloid. The brains are in their bottoms. You know where to aim. So
your mind is
in the audition copy, and it's sort of eyes lit up and the room lit up, and the rest went the way that it went. That show was so well written.
Yeah.
And attracted so many great guest stars, including David Warner. Oh, my goodness. Happily, in the history of my career and involvement, I've been on so many series that guest stars lined up to be part of. They wanted to be in these shows. Some legendary people, and I've been the beneficiary of all of that goodwill.
Oh, you're extremely lucky, and obviously you're aware of that as well, but it takes a lot of talent.
So many people that I came up with, equally talented, from my estimation. And for whatever reasons, they may or may not have had the same good fortune along the way. So, I like the anonymous, whoever it was, who said, the harder I work, the luckier I get. I'm not undervaluing my contribution. I'm not undervaluing my commitment to trying to always have myself heard and seen in the best possible light. But it doesn't always go that way. It doesn't always go the way it should in casting or could. Even the Olympics, for heaven's sake, which are taking place right now as we speak, it's the person who is the best in the world that day, at that moment. Another day, another moment, it might have had a different outcome. It is what it is. But there's no excuse to not be grateful for the things that do go your way.
I agree. I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think, but it also takes a hell of a lot of talent, and you have that, sir. You really do, because the amount of voices you've just done for me, and how equally different all of them are in their own right. So there's no shame with saying that. Yes, you have luck, and it's about going in, and it's the right time, the right moment. But also, it takes a lot of time.
Correct.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the pride. For I am a multi-voice person. I'm a character actor. The more diverse the things I'm asked to do are, the greater the pride I take in successfully doing that. I learn things about humanity in general just by sort of going for it. Whether it's heroes, villains, nerds, brainiacs, Dinobots, whatever it is, I learn things from the doing of it, because my pride as an artist is in trying to find a third dimensionality to that character that speaks truthfully and experiences things in a very honest way. That's what does it for me. That's why I love what I've been allowed to do.
Well, it's brilliant. So how did you get the role as Kraven and Mysterio? Were you always going to play both characters when you signed on, or was it just one role to begin with and then the other one followed suit?
They followed, and honest to goodness, this is the first real lapse. I can't remember the sequence of casting and which role I was considered for first and which one second. It did not happen at the same time. It was sequential. It seems to me Mysterio was first, but I could be wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. Mysterio came first. Yep.
And that was deep, dark, and internal. And Kraven is the anti, because he's so extroverted and so fierce and jungle savvy. But again, both really interesting, million miles from my typical, normal, everyday self, but I was allowed to jump into them and live them and breathe them. And hopefully everybody was better for the doing of that.
And they sure were. I also loved your Kraven, where you used to say Mariah, because obviously Mariah was the doctor who was in a relationship that gave him the serum that made him Kraven the Hunter, the beast, that super senses, and he always be like, Malaya! I mean, I'm doing a terrible impression. But...
No, hey, had you been around, it would have been a genuine threat.
Well, thank you. But yeah, I used to love all the different ways, and he would call her his Calypso as well. He would always refer to her as his Calypso.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
but
it's brilliant.
Again, it's a blessing and a curse when somebody augments your abilities that drastically.
For sure. Did you ever meet Stan Lee when working on the show?
I did not meet him during the recording for whatever reason. I know he was close and above and around and supervisorial, and we always heard wonderfully flattering comments from him, but I didn't meet him until later when I was on the convention circuit, which I still am internationally, I've been allowed to go literally around the world, meeting fans one-on-one, doing panels, doing cold readings. And on some of those larger ones, I have had the good fortune of being in the green room with Stan, who was also appearing at the same conventions. I made a point of making the connection and letting him know that I knew he was there throughout those days. I knew how approving he was, and he's just a wonderful human.
He really is. And I mean, gave birth to all these characters.
Talk about a great and powerful wizard. That is a genuine force of nature creatively.
Absolutely. And then, of course, gets to relish and enjoy all his creations, where now he just shows up as himself in films, and he just gets to be himself and hang out with all his creations as they make billions and billions of dollars.
As well he should.
Absolutely. And my final question then, before we soon to wrap up, I just want to know, with the show, there's so many amazing actors, and I've highlighted some here because I know with episodes that you were a part of, you worked with them. So you've got Ed Asner,
yep.
You've got Mark Hamill,
yep.
Martin Landau, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., Roscoe Lee Brown. I mean, obviously the list goes on and on, but just being in a booth with those actors and you're playing off one another. I mean, do you have any memories? Do you have any specific times where you just were kind of sitting there and going, or standing there and going, that's Roscoe Lee Brown, that's Mark Hamill, that's Martin Landau, this is just incredible. If you have anything to share like that, that'd be amazing.
Well, the answer is every time. And my hope would be that at some moment since that time, someone has felt the same way about collaborating with me. I'm not trying to overly pat myself on the back, but absent the sort of majesty of movie sets and costumes and makeup, when it just is a premier studio, premier technology, but everyone arrives to do the same thing, it's much less off-putting and much more just you meet each other as colleagues. You're all there to do the same thing. The stories are great, and obviously the more history someone has, the more you just want them to hold court. And that's why I was saying, both in studio and out of studio, I loved every minute. But these are veteran actors with legendary careers, and I just really enjoyed being part of it. I knew we were all playing jump rope on the same playground, and nobody was going to trip over the jump rope. I'm being obtuse, but I think you know what I mean. Everybody was there to serve the piece. So you meet as equals. It's like a ball team taking the field. You all meet on an equal level playing field. The rest is what happens outside the studio as you get to know each other. And of course, you want to hear people's histories and origin stories, and all of that sort of is thrilling to me. Look, on so many levels, from Mel Blanc on, I've had the great good fortune of being the little kid in the living room on Saturday morning watching cartoons, to working side by side and hand in hand with my heroes. Even if some of them might be names that weren't well known to the world, they were well known to me as people that I aspired to someday work with, and have had the great good fortune of being able to. Long answer to a short question, but that really is the answer.
No, absolutely not. No, I couldn't enjoy listening to that more, because for me, and doing this podcast, right, there's been a need for some sort of creativity outside of my general workday and everything else. My brother found and made a career out of it with drawing comic books.
Right.
And, I'm very proud of him, and he's rocking with Marvel right now. But for me, I wanted to do something, and then looking at what I love, and then going back to it, it was this show. So now when I get to talk to someone like Rodney, or when I get to talk to someone like you, and hopefully continue and talk to more people part of the show. You were saying before that hopefully people would look at me and have that same feeling as I did with working My Heroes. Well, I'm not working with you, but being able to just have this pleasure of talking with you, it's been amazing, because I just think, if you flash back in my life, I don't know, 20 years, and you see me, I'm the kid sitting in front of the television watching Mysterio and Kraven, and now I get to talk to you. So it's an absolute pleasure, and absolutely something that I couldn't have been happier to do.
Here, here. We're both here. We're together. There's some cyberspace and digital technology involved, but we're having a chat, and that's absolutely lovely all the way around. Speaking of which, I would encourage your listeners to please follow me on Twitter at Gregg Berger, GreggBerger, and still social media on Facebook /GreggBerger. I try to keep it lively and entertaining and informative at the same time.
You do indeed, and that was my next question was where can our listeners find you? So you've done that one, which is brilliant. And then finally, the last question is, what do you have coming up next, and what can we all look forward to?
It has been announced, but I am returning as Grimlock side by side with Mark Hamill and Ron Perlman in Power of the Primes, which is a machinima collaboration with Hasbro, and will be starting as on Go 90 as a web series that has been announced. I have interactive games that continue. I do some teaching and coaching. I appear wherever I appear, whenever I appear. I did a show on stage last year. I see no reason to slow down, because it's so much fun just trying to keep up.
Well, we don't want you to slow down, man, because you just keep on going and doing what you're doing, because we love to hear your voices.
The goal is to take all of that past glory and keep it going into the present and the foreseeable future and the distant future. I love what I do, and that makes me sort of a fulfilled person, and I feel very wonderful about that, and blessed by having been able to do what I love doing as a career, and life is good.
Well, it definitely shows, and I think it makes all the difference as well when you look at it like that. So more power to you. Well done. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to talking to you, and thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having. Every good wish, and props to you on making this a focal point, because I know there's an audience that has your show as a meeting place for something that is meaningful to them, and that's just awesome. So bravo you.
Well, thank you.
And Will, you'll never know what you missed. Well, you probably will, because it's all recorded.
Yes, he can sit there and listen and go, oh, I wish I asked him that, or I wish I was there for that moment. But indeed. And yeah, if you're ever in London and come to a Comic-Con, I look forward to meeting you in person.
I would say that's almost guaranteed, and I will find you when that door opens again. I've done a couple of shows in the Midlands and Birmingham, and would love to return for any reason. So best to all in the UK, all of my found friends.
Indeed. All right, Greg, thanks so much.
Take care, be well. I really appreciate you having me on, and every good wish.
How great is Greg?
Oh, awesome. I'm very sad I couldn't be there to be with him. Yeah. What a fun guy that definitely loves what he does.
Absolutely. You could just tell how much joy he had when he was talking about all the characters that he's lent his voice to. I mean, just first of all, O.T. and Garfield, whether you watch Garfield or not, he's been doing that voice for like over 25 years, and the voice isn't really much. It's a slurping dog that makes rough sounds, so you think anyone can do it, but he has put his staple on that character, and it's like, if you're going to use Odie, you're going to have to go to Gregg Berger to hear him.
I think my favorite bit was when he turned into Eeyore and he was like, well, I'm just one of three. That was great.
Yeah, that was really good.
Just like even the Eeyore voice actor's like, well, I'm not the Eeyore.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, and I think that's why he is such a great voice actor, and why he gets so many fantastic roles, because he not only brings his own take on it while paying tribute to the character, if there's any other iterations that have come before his voice and that character, but also he remembers so much. I mean, I was amazed. I mean, he went straight into Kraven and Mysterio, didn't he? Which was, like, for me, I was just biting my hands trying not to giggle over him, because it was so amazing to hear that.
Well, his Mysterio, like you were saying in it, like, it's the voices that you hear in your head when you read the comics, like, that Mysterio is just great. Like, what a menacing little bastard that voice is.
It really is, and it makes me like Mysterio way more, because I've never been the biggest fan of Mysterio.
What? I love Mysterio. He's one of my favourite.
No, we're so divided on Spidey villains. I love Kraven. Do you like Kraven?
See, and I'm not a big Kraven guy. I'm way more of a Mysterio guy.
Oh, Kraven he's the best. And I love it. He's like, in the concrete jungle. And you're like, oh, that's so good. So yeah, his Kraven and Mysterio are just hands down the best Kraven Mysterio out there. And also, being Kay in Men in Black, the animated series, I watched that show as a kid, and it's amazing how much he can change his voice to different characters.
Yeah, the range is great. I'm not surprised that he's so successful in what he does.
Absolutely. And then finally, when I asked him to do the Grumble and Our Real Monsters, once again, he remembers every name, character, line. I mean, just like Agent K when he did his little intro as Agent K, and also when he did the Grumble, and he was like, Clam, Ickes, and you just suddenly, my brain melted, because I was like 10, 11 years old again, in our home in New Jersey, watching Our Real Monsters, and just listening to the Grumble, which you pointed out after is a definite Blue Meanie shout out, isn't it?
The Grumble to me has always been the American version of the bad guy from Blue Meanie. Or is his name Blue Meanie, or does he have Blue Meanies? I can never remember. But
I think he's the main Blue Meanie, yeah. Yeah,
but to me, that's always been what I would think an American version of that character would sound like, because it's also the dynamic of changing from like the loving and kind to get back to class. Like, it's the same with Glove. Come here, Glove.
Oh, you're so right.
Like, when he freaks out.
And kind of like Mark Hamill's Joker in a way as well, because I know he pulled influence from Blue Meanie. Yeah. And speaking of Mark Hamill, how about him going to work with Ron Perlman and Mark Hamill in the next Transformers thing they're doing together?
Like, that's like some of my top 3 favorite voice actors right there, so that's pretty dope.
That's amazing. We'll definitely try and check that out, because that's really cool. He had some fantastic stories to share. Some amazing memories, and just it was really fantastic to talk to him. And the fact that he wasn't shy about doing all his voices, and he would just go straight into it with such, as I said, joy and complete and utter professional with what he's been doing. And I couldn't have asked for a better interview. I mean, right at the beginning when he started doing Kraven Mysterio, and as I said, I was like, well, we can stop now, because that you can't top that, which he did in spades. But that was fantastic. So I hope you all enjoyed that, because I certainly enjoyed interviewing him. And of course, it's another one from Spider-Man the Animated Series that we've had the privilege of talking to, and let's keep on rating and subscribing us on iTunes and commenting, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Definitely want to grow this. If you love the show, let's grow this together, and let's get more people from the show on our show. That'd be amazing.
Yes.
Alrighty, man. So you want to play a little villains versus villains?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Sacrifices must be made.
You're right on time for your funeral.
We call ourselves Venom.
Okay, so since I keep on giving you like random categories of numbers, which may be hard to pick and sometimes can pigeonhole you into picking only.
Anytime you give it to me, I just give you the numbers you give me. So just choose it at random.
All right, I'm going to give you, and you can do this. Doesn't matter. I'm going to give you big set of numbers here. They're all wicked contenders, so it should be really good. Number 16 through 29.
16 and 29. Again, I'll just keep doing that.
All right, you ready for this? Because I knew you were going to do that, so I was like, okay, if he picks those, this is going to be a wicked fight. You ready?
Yep.
We've got Venom versus Hydro Man.
Well, that's a dope fight.
That is a sick fight, right? There's lots of liquid going around in that fight.
Well, symbiote isn't a liquid, but I don't know. I mean, Hydro Man can drown Venom. Like, how much damage could Venom do to Hydro Man?
How can Hydro Man drown Venom?
Hydro Man can go down Venom's throat and fill his lungs.
I think the symbiote would be able to push it out because the symbiote can go inside you as well. So the symbiote.
I don't know. I never considered the symbiote being inside the person. I say attached to the exterior of them.
Yeah, but doesn't it sometimes like go in the mouth and stuff like that?
I don't know.
Well,
that'd be gross. What does it go in the mouth and then seep through the pores of the skin?
No, I guess it doesn't. Yeah, so no, it does. It just encases the person. However, I don't think the symbiote would let Hydro Man get even close enough to be able to get in Venom's mouth to do that.
But how can you stop water? Hydro Man is a force to be reckoned with because you smack at him and you're just hitting water.
Well, can the symbiote somehow adapt to being able to stop the water?
The only way I could see Venom winning is if the symbiote attaches itself to Hydro Man and then you have a Hydro Man symbiote.
Oh my god, so it abandons Eddie Brock because it recognizes Hydro Man as a better contender and it's like, you're mine, I need you, and then you've got Hydro Man Venom.
Yeah, that's how I see that going.
Oh, you're right. That's exactly what would happen. It would abandon Eddie Brock and go for Hydro Man.
So who's the winner there? Because I guess symbiote wins?
Well, no.
Eddie Brock doesn't win. Hydro Man doesn't win.
Well, Hydro Man does because he's still, at the end of the day, he's not We Are Venom, is he? He's not going to start calling himself Venom.
Venom's like one of my favourite villains. I can't believe I'm voting against him.
Well, that's the point of this fight, man, because sometimes you go, oh, I love that villain, but then you look at the list of abilities and powers, and there's some that just don't even equal it.
Hydro Man can be stopped. You can freeze him and you can seal him in concrete and all of this type of stuff. But I don't see Eddie Brock figuring that out. Because I don't see Eddie Brock figuring that out, and I don't see a symbiote figuring that out.
Yeah, because if you can fool a symbiote by creating a loud noise, and that's how you defeat it, then it's not smart enough to figure out how to beat Hydro Man, right?
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, Eddie. Oh, jeez, I lost another fight again.
Oh no! Don't kick me out right now. Come on.
Oh, come on, symbiote! Don't leave me for this jabroni.
All right, ringing the bell. Okay. I'm shocked at that. I really am. I was like, it's going to be Venom. It's going to be a great fight, but it's going to be Venom. But your point on the symbiote's going to pick whoever is the most powerful, and it would choose Hydro Man. It would.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, the symbiote's number one goal is to get revenge on Spider-Man for rejecting him because he's never been rejected. But I think he has a better chance of getting back at him with Hydro Man.
True, and also, if the symbiote leaves Eddie Brock to go to Hydro Man, then Eddie Brock is vulnerable, which means he's definitely going to lose, and Hydro Man may be able to stop the symbiote from bonding with him, which would then cause no one to win but Hydro Man anyway, so...
And he can always go back to Eddie Brock if he loses, so it's a win-win for the symbiote.
Yeah, exactly. And he still would have been beaten, so Hydro Man wins, yeah. Okay. All right, I just had to make sure of that, but that's exactly who would win. All right, let's move on to the next fight. Amazing Friends fight.
The name's Daredevil.
I punish those who prey on the innocent.
Meet the new champion of the Allied Forces, Captain America.
What I smell is trouble.
It's clobbering time!
All right. Once again, I'm going to give you a large set of numbers. Are you going to choose the first two numbers I say?
Yep.
But then it's no fun because now I'm picking the fight.
All right, well, how about 18 and 19? Have they been taken?
They have not. You ready?
Yep.
The Human Torch.
Okay.
Versus The Thing.
Ooh, it's clobbering time. He kicked the shit out of Human Torch. You can't burn rock. Everyone who's played Pokemon knows that.
We've talked about all sorts of nerdy shit on this episode today.
Hydra Man would have a better chance, but yes, I think. I mean, I guess Human Torch is just fly away, but that's not winning. That's just evading. So I think I don't think you can. Yeah, you can't cook stone. You can't do that. Stone is used as a tool to cook. Exactly. So I think that he would fly around him a lot. I think he would eventually. Human Torch would get tired, and I think that's when the Thing would pound him to the ground.
Yeah, it's exactly just like in the theme tune. It's clobbering time. He would definitely, and Human Torch also, as you said, he would run out of steam. And the moment he gets punched in the fucking face, he's not going to be able to say "flame on," is he? He's going to be like "Bravo!"
Flame on forever.
All right, ringing the bell. The Thing, easy victory.
I love the Thing.
I do too. I think the Thing's a great character. And do you know what?
I loved. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say over the weekend, I finally I've got a few more episodes to go, but I've almost finished the animated series. I watched the Spider Wars episodes, the Spider-Verse episodes, whatever you want to call it, and Ben Grimm in that is so good as the Thing, and I haven't seen the Thing in anything because I didn't see that new Fantastic Four film.
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, and I never watched that show, so I haven't seen the Thing in anything since maybe the early 2000s film that came out.
I cannot wait for him to come back into the Marvel Universe.
Oh, I'm so excited. I totally agree. I'm more excited about Fantastic Four in the Marvel Universe than the X-Men.
I know, Doctor Doom, they're going to knock it out of the park.
They are. I mean, after seeing Black Panther again, they just can't do any wrong. Anyway, so watching The Thing, and in that episode, because it's Doctor Doom is in the episode, and Doctor Doom gives Ben Grimm exactly what he wants. He's like, I can kill you, but you can also turn your power on, so you can be the Thing when you want to be, and you can be Ben Grimm else. And it completely defuses him, and he actually and Ben Grimm is now on the side of Doctor Doom. And it was fantastic to see that. And I'm sure it's been done in the comic books.
Doctor Doom is like the smart Saruman Darth Vader of the Marvel Universe.
He is. You're totally right. He's the Blofeld. He's everything. Yeah, he's incredible. And he was really good in the animated series. So I'm very close to finishing it. But I will say, as a kid, I don't remember watching these episodes much. I definitely must have seen them at some point, but I vaguely remember. I really don't remember that much, and I actually felt like I was watching these episodes for the first time, which was a joy because I watched the whole show so far, season after season, and obviously loved it, but I've seen these episodes so many times in my life, doesn't mean that they get worse, but there's no surprise factor out of it. Whereas these Spider Wars episodes, I completely forgot that Lizard was in there, and there was Dr. Octopus and Smythe, and they all went to that planet for a year as villains. I was like, holy shit, they've been on that planet for a year, just conquering it. And
Smythe!
Yeah, King Vince looking around, you've been gone for a year, Smythe!
I missed you, Smythe.
I thought he was sniffing himself because he hasn't been bathed in a year. I thought that's what that was. Smythe, I do not smell fresh.
I have let myself go in your disappearance.
He's just even fatter.
Yeah, I am now 4% body fat.
It has gone up 1% in 1 year, Smythe.
And it will not happen again.
Oh, fucking hell, that is brilliant. Yeah, he wouldn't know what the fuck to do with himself. He'd just be walking around like, hello? Is anybody there? Just visiting.
Just around the Chrysler building?
Yeah.
Nice. Damn hover chair, it's so silent.
Oh,
Where
man.
are you?
And Smythe would come back and he'd be like, Kingpin, I have so much to tell you. And he's like, Smythe, none of this matters. What matters is you going to run me a bath and reading me a bedtime story. You fucked up, Smythe.
Why was I not invited to this planet, Smythe? I could be the kingpin of 2 different places.
Oh, he would, yeah. He'd scheme that. That was, yeah. So anyway, going back to that episode, or episodes, I really enjoyed watching those again. And probably going to go finish off the season tonight after we finish the podcast. So I can officially say I've seen the entire animated series, and it's completely fresh in my mind for this podcast. Whenever little details come up that we could forget, hopefully I won't anymore.
Well, good. I guess it's more fresh for me since I rewatched it. Well, I rewatched it 9 years ago, but it's since it has such longevity, I just remember so much of it.
Yeah. Well, you're taking your time with it, aren't you? For the show, you're going to watch an episode each time we review it, and that's that's
that
nice.
That keeps me super fresh on picking up all the little stuff that you miss.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a nice way to do it as well, because then you have something to look forward to watching it. And speaking of which, that's exactly what we're going to do next week. We are going to review the 4th episode of Spider-Man the Animated Series, which is Dr. Octopus Armed and Dangerous.
And I will look forward to that now that I have a newfound love for Dr. Octopus.
That's true, you do. That is cool. All right, mate, we're going to do, as always...
All right, mate.
All right, mate.
You fucking mate.
We are going to do, as always, our Daily Bugle Fact of the Day.
Now let's see who's under that mask.
I'm shocked and you're gonna be tough.
I guess it really does pay to practice shoddy journalism. Keep it up, JJ.
I have waited for this for some time.
It's the fact of the fucking day, mate.
It's like a guy in a pub who's like, did you know that in Spider-Man, the animated series, right? Hang on, I'm ordering a pint. Yeah, 2 pints of lager, love. Cheers. Right, do you know, right, in Spider-Man, the animated series, that when Spider-Man is talking to Scorpion, he's actually fucking Martin Landau. Did you know that? And that the Riddler tried out for it and he didn't get the role. Isn't that fucking nuts?
Wait, you have to tell that in English.
What, you didn't get it?
No. all I heard was that goblin from Lord of the Rings. Yeah, why can't we get any of the bloody meat? What about him? Yeah, Fred.
We've talked so many different giant franchises in this one episode. It's amazing. Oh my god. It did sound a bit orcish, didn't it?
Yeah.
I want some meats. Yeah, to clarify and to translate, I was a gentleman at a drinking establishment, and I was
down at the watering hole.
Down at the old watering hole, and I was ordering 2 pints of lager.
No, bitter.
Bitter. Sorry, bitter.
Lager's for peasants.
Meanwhile, I was discussing with my fellow chaps that are all part of very exclusive tennis clubs, you see, and we're
all Freemasons. We have secret handshakes and wiggle our cocks around in the room.
And we were talking about this jolly good show back in the day, you see. It's called Spider-Man, and it was the animated series. So I was chatting, and there was this fantastic depiction of the Scorpion, played by Martin Landau.
The Scorpion.
And Martin Landau was obviously, as we know, a very refined actor. But he was also competing with Frank Gorshin, don't you know, the Riddler from the old Batman 66 show, which was just as good, and I quite sound like the Penguin from that show.
Fucking hell, that's some bloody good trivia, Jonathan.
We've totally lost all our listeners now, but I don't give a shit. This is just fun.
That's what English Kingpin would be like. Smythe! I say Smythe! Please come to me, Smythe!
Smythe, my hair does not match the drapes. Shave my balls is what I'm asking for. Because he's bald, so obviously he ain't bald down there unless someone does something about it. So Smythe's on ball shaving duty for a week. All right, go ahead. We're going. We got Daily Bugle. We got the Daily Bugle facts of the day coming. Just don't worry, listeners. We'll get there.
I heard a joke today about bald people, and I'll try and make Smythe say it as like a roast to Kingpin.
Okay.
It goes, let me try and do this correctly. It says, Kingpin has such bad relationships that even his hair left him in his 20s.
I fucking love a good cheesy joke like that. And then, what did you say, Smythe?
It's a roast.
The only roast I have is on Sundays, Smythe.
with potatoes and stuffing. Oh my god, that's amazing. All right, let's get to Daily Bugle fact of the day then. You've got, I'll give you a few numbers because there's so many here. Pick a number between 4 and 6.
Between 4 and 6?
Yeah, I'm narrowing it down for you.
There's only one number between 4 and 6, that's 5.
Really, mate, because when I say pick a number between this and that, even if there's 20 numbers, you're like, first one and last one, done.
Really, mate? 4 and 6.
4 and 6. So which one are you choosing? Which number? It's only one.
Oh, 5.
Okay. All right, so this is a partial fact that you already know. However, there's some additional stuff here that I thought was very interesting. So we'll start with Joan Lee played the part of Madam Web, which, as you know, where we discussed that, and I think it was the first episode we ever did. And the Madam Web character was based exactly off her likeness. So the way Joan Lee looked is how they want Madam Web to look. Now, John Semper created the character whilst Avi Arad hated her.
Whoa, hang on. So Madam Web was invented in Spider-Man the Animated Series?
By reading this, and also without doing any fact-checking, I'm going to say, yeah, I think so.
Wow, that's huge. I remember she was all over Peter Parker Spider-Man comics back in the day, the John Romita Jr. one, which was coming out at the same time. So that's pretty interesting. It's always cool. So she's like the Harley Quinn of Spider-Man the Animated Series.
Yeah, but not some, like, crazy chick from an asylum. She's like the total opposite. But yeah, much like Harley created for Batman. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. So yeah, it says right here, John Semper created the character. So I believe that means John Semper created Madam Web as well. We could be totally wrong, and I can always fact check and correct ourselves next episode. But
yeah, just double check next episode.
I will, for sure. But as I was saying, Avi Arad did not like Madam Web. The main reason for Avi Arad hating on Madam Web, why do you think he hated on him? Oh, wait, hated on her, sorry.
Hard to sell an action figure of an old woman?
Bingo.
Yeah?
Yep, that's exactly what it is. He said, how am I going to sell this toy of this old woman? No child, no boy specifically actually, wants to buy a toy of an old woman. It's pointless.
I would have bought a Madam Web toy.
I would too, because she's like the architect. She's like the person that is pulling all the strings.
She is like the Matrix in that way.
That's what I mean.
Architect.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and she brings Spider-Man's destiny to him and tells him, like, you're going to go through all this pain and all this anguish, but you have a greater path ahead of you and you've got a fucking adventure waiting. And in watching her, she's in the show actually earlier than I remember. I thought, oh, she comes in like season 4. But she pops up in like season 2 and it's not even Spider-Verse time yet. She's just basically prepping Spider-Man and fucking with him very early on, and then she comes back in the later series. So yeah, it's a shame. We didn't, in the end, I don't think we did own a Madam Web toy, and not because we wouldn't want one. I just don't think we ever saw it.
We didn't have every single Spider-Man the Animated Series toy. We didn't even have the Kingpin.
I know. I seen the Kingpin recently. I was like, man, we would have loved that toy, wouldn't we?
Yeah, he's so wide, that toy. Oh my god.
Yeah, well, that's the Kingpin, baby. He's just
large and in charge, like
3% though. Remember that.
Just like my milk.
Oh, fucking hell. All right. Well, we've kept everyone listening long enough, but we hoped you enjoyed the Gregg Berger interview. Once again, please get out there and let's grow this thing as much as possible. All it takes is just going on iTunes and just clicking the star rating. Leave a comment would be amazing as well. But definitely want to wall crawl up those charts and attract more people from the show. We're not just talking to voice actors. We are also talking to writers of the show, a particular writer of an episode who happens to also be the creator of many popular comic book characters, has shown an interest, and hopefully in a later episode, I can't say when, we can get him on the show, because that would be amazing.
Yep, and also we do have Nate Stockman coming up, artist of Spidey, and been in talks to potentially have on a very famous Spider-Man comic book writer who was mentioned in the show earlier. So hopefully he'll be coming on a few months down the line.
I'm excited for that, definitely. I'm excited to interview Nate as well. I see him a lot on Twitter, and he definitely seems like a really lovely bloke. So
he's got a good Titter. He's got a good Twitter game. He's jokes.
Yeah, he is. So yeah, I'm looking forward to having him on probably in the next couple of weeks, right? We'll do a Dr. Octopus Armored and Dangerous review next week, and then maybe we can slot him in for that next week.
Yep, sounds good.
Cool. All right, well, is there anything you want to add before we head off?
I just want to say that I love you all. That's it.
Oh, that was really sweet. After having a bad day, that's very nice.
Happy Valentine's Day.
That was a week ago.
Well, I wasn't here to say it.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Well, that's all the time we've got for this week. Join us next time where we'll continue talking all things Spider-Man the Animated Series. Until then, I've been Alex Robson.
I've been Will Robson.
And remember, with a great podcast comes great recordability.
That's very correct, Spike.
Goodbye.
Bye.